Picture this. It is late at night, the house is finally quiet, and your cat jumps up onto the bed beside you. You reach out to stroke them, the way you always do, expecting that soft, clean fur you fell in love with. But instead, your fingers slide across something slick, greasy, almost sticky, like they have been dipped in oil. And then, near the base of the tail, you feel it. Those hard, painful clumps of matted fur pulling tight against the skin. And your heart just sinks. I know exactly how confusing and heartbreaking this is to feel. This is a cat who used to groom themselves for hours a day, an animal obsessed with being clean. And now their coat looks oily, clumped, spiky, and neglected, no matter what you do. And I know how frustrating it is to spend $40 on a fancy detangling spray that does nothing, or to hand over $150 for a professional shave-down at the groomer, only to watch that greasy, matted coat creep right back a few weeks later. But what if I told you that the greasy fur is not the real problem at all? What if I told you that the shaving, the sprays, and the expensive special shampoos are all treating the wrong thing entirely, like mopping the floor while the tap is still running? Today, I am going to show you the real reason your cat's fur turns greasy and matted, the hidden root cause that most vets simply do not have the 15 minutes in an appointment to sit down and explain to you, and the simple fix that can start transforming your cat's coat in a matter of days. If you saw the thumbnail of this video, you saw the promise, and I am going to deliver on it completely. Because the secret to a soft, clean, silky coat is not sitting on a pet store shelf inside a bottle. A huge part of it is sitting right now inside your own kitchen and your refrigerator. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In my years working with cats, greasy fur and painful matting are some of the most common and honestly the most misunderstood problems that worried cat parents ever bring to me. Nearly everyone assumes their cat has simply gotten dirty or lazy, and nearly everyone is wrong. And before we go any further, if this channel has ever helped you understand your cat a little bit better, do me one small favor and hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell, because I post these feline health deep dives every single week, and I would truly hate for you to miss the next one. Now, let's get into it. Here is the first thing I need you to understand, and it is the reframe that changes absolutely everything. A greasy, matted coat is almost never a grooming problem. It is a symptom. It is your cat waving a giant red flag and telling you in the only language they have that something deeper is wrong on the inside. Let me explain the science, because once you understand this, you will never look at your cat's coat the same way again. A healthy cat is a self-cleaning machine. They spend nearly half of their waking hours grooming themselves, and that constant, careful licking spreads the natural oils from their skin evenly down every single strand of hair. That is exactly what gives a healthy cat that soft, sleek, water-repellent shine we all love. So when a coat suddenly turns greasy, spiky, and clumped, it means one of two things is happening. Either your cat has stopped grooming themselves properly, or the oil that their skin is producing has gone wrong at the source. And in almost every single case I see, both of those things are happening at exactly the same time, and both of them trace back to the same hidden causes. Once you fix those causes, the coat fixes itself, because your cat goes right back to doing the cleaning for you. So let's talk about the very first hidden cause, and it is the one nobody ever wants to hear, but it is the most important. Pain. When a cat is in pain, they stop grooming the areas that hurt to reach. And this is the key. Think very carefully about the areas that go greasy and matted first. It is always the lower back, the base of the tail, the back of the hind legs. Those are the exact spots a cat has to twist, arch, and stretch their spine to reach with their tongue. A young, limber cat reaches them without a second thought. But an older cat, or an overweight cat, or a cat with the very early stages of arthritis quietly setting into their spine and their hips, physically cannot turn their body far enough to groom those areas anymore. It simply hurts too much. So they stop. And the oils build up. The loose, dead fur never gets cleaned away. And within a few weeks, you have grease and tight mats forming in precisely the places they can no longer reach. Let me give you a real-world example, because this pattern is so common it breaks my heart. Not long ago, a worried couple brought me their sweet older tabby. They were almost apologetic, telling me their cat had become greasy and matted along the back, and they were convinced she had simply become lazy and dirty in her old age. They were even talking about shaving her completely. But when I gently pressed along her lower spine and hips, she flinched and pulled away. She did not have a grooming problem at all. She had early arthritis, and she had quietly stopped grooming her own back for months because every twist of her spine hurt. We managed the joint pain, we changed a few things in her bowl, and within a couple of weeks that greasy matted coat was soft and clean again, and she was grooming herself like a kitten. The fur was never the real story. The pain was. This is why so many loving people wrongly believe their cat has just gotten lazy or dirty in old age. Let me be very clear with you. Your cat is not being lazy. Your cat is quietly, patiently telling you that it hurts to move. Cats are absolute masters at hiding pain because in the wild any sign of weakness makes them a target, so they suffer in complete silence. That greasy patch over the hips is often the very first visible clue you will ever get that your cat's joints are starting to ache. And that is the first thing we are going to address, gently, at home. Now, I want you to actually get up and go look at your cat and do a simple test with me right now. Run your hands slowly from their neck all the way down to the base of their tail. Notice where the coat changes. If the fur on the shoulders, the chest, and the head is still soft and clean, but it turns greasy and clumped as you move toward the back half of the body, that pattern is your answer. That is the unmistakable signature of a cat who can no longer twist around to groom their own hindquarters. You have just diagnosed one of the hidden causes in 10 seconds, right there in your own living room, without spending a penny. But pain is only half of this story. Because we still have to answer the much bigger question. Why has the oil itself gone wrong? Why is it suddenly thick and greasy and heavy instead of light and clean the way it used to be? And to answer that, we have to stop looking at the fur, and we have to look inside the food bowl. This right here is the part I really want you to pay close attention to, so grab a notebook and a pen if you have one nearby, because this is where the real permanent fix begins. The oil on your cat's skin has a name. It is called sebum. And the quality of that sebum, whether it is light and protective or thick and greasy, is dictated almost entirely by what your cat eats every single day. A cat is what we call an obligate carnivore. That is not a small detail, it is the whole story. It means their entire body, their skin, and their coat evolved to run on animal protein and animal fat, and nothing else. Their skin needs a very specific, delicate balance of fatty acids in order to produce that light, healthy, protective oil. Now here is where it all falls apart. Most dry kibble on the market today is quietly loaded with cheap carbohydrates because carbs are what hold a dry, crunchy pellet together and keep it cheap to make. Corn, wheat, rice, potato, peas. Your cat's body was never ever designed to run on all of that starch. And when the diet is heavy in the wrong kinds of fats and packed with cheap plant fillers, the skin starts to panic and overproduce thick, sticky, unhealthy sebum. That greasy film you feel on your fingertips at night, that is it right there. That is the visible result of a diet fighting against your cat's biology. And it gets worse because there is a second problem stacked right on top of that one. Dry kibble is only about 10% moisture. In the wild, a cat gets almost all of its water from fresh prey, which is around 70% moisture. So a cat living entirely on dry food is in a state of quiet, chronic dehydration day after day, year after year. That dehydration dries out the skin underneath the coat, making it flaky and irritated, and the body's clumsy response to dry skin is to pump out even more oil to try and compensate. So now you have the perfect storm. Dry, flaky, unhappy skin buried under a layer of heavy, sticky, greasy oil. That, right there, is your greasy cat, completely explained. It was never about being dirty. It was about biology, hydration, and pain, all at once. And before we get into exactly how to fix all of this from the inside, this is the perfect moment to remind you, if this is finally starting to make sense, if you are having that aha moment right now where it all clicks, please tap that like button for me. It genuinely helps this kind of honest, root cause information reach more worried cat parents who are lying awake feeling guilty about their cat's coat. And it only takes you 1 second. All right, Now let's talk about the fix, because this is what you actually came here for. We are going to fix this in two clear stages. First, we are going to gently and safely deal with the grease and the mats that are already sitting there on the outside, to give your cat some immediate relief and comfort. And then, most importantly, we are going to repair the root cause on the inside so that the grease and the matting simply never come back again. Let's start on the outside, and let's start with the mats, because those need a careful, loving, patient hand. I am begging you, please do not grab a pair of scissors and try to cut a mat out. This is one of the single most common ways cats end up rushed to the emergency vet with a deep wound. Here is why. A cat's skin is unbelievably thin and loose, far thinner than you imagine, and a tight mat actually pulls that soft skin up into a little tented peak right underneath the clump. People go in with scissors, they snip what they think is only fur, and they slice their cat's skin wide open without ever seeing it happen. So please, put the scissors down and leave them in the drawer. Instead, here is exactly what you do. For the smaller mats, take a little organic, unrefined virgin coconut oil. Warm a small amount between your fingers until it melts, and then gently work it right into the base of the mat, down where it meets the skin. Let it sit and soak in for a few minutes. The oil naturally lubricates the hairs and loosens the tangle from the inside. Then, and this part is critical, hold the fur firmly at the very base, close to the skin, so that you are never, ever pulling on the skin itself, and gently tease the mat apart with your fingers or a wide-toothed comb, always working from the outer edges inward, a little at a time. Slowly, it will begin to loosen and break apart. For a stubborn mat, do not force it and do not fight your cat. Do it in several short, calm sessions spread across a few days. And for the large, tight mats that are pressed completely flat against the skin like a hard pancake, please do not attempt those at home at all. That is a job for a professional groomer or your vet with proper clippers, because those have to be carefully shaved off, never pulled. Now for the grease itself. If your cat will tolerate it, a gentle wipe down goes a very long way. Take a soft, clean cloth, dampen it with warm water, and simply wipe along the greasy areas in the same direction the fur naturally grows, refreshing the cloth as you go. For a cat who truly needs a full bath, and many cats will actually allow it if you stay calm and quiet, use only lukewarm water, never hot, and just a tiny amount of a gentle, cat-safe shampoo. And hear this clearly because it matters. Never use dog shampoo, and never use human shampoo on a cat. The pH balance is completely wrong for feline skin, and it will strip and irritate them, making the flaking and the grease dramatically worse, not better. And one more warning I need you to really take in. If you ever part the fur and see that the skin underneath the grease is red, crusty, scabbed, or oozing anything, or if your cat suddenly flinches, hisses, or cries out when you touch one specific spot, then stop immediately and get to your vet. At that point, it is no longer a grooming issue at all. That is an infection or an injury hiding under the coat, and it needs real medical care. All right, the outside is handled and your cat is more comfortable. Now we fix the engine because everything we just did on the outside is only temporary if we do not repair what is happening on the inside. Rule number 1 of the internal fix. Add moisture back in. This is the single cheapest and most powerful change you can possibly make, and it is the one almost everyone completely overlooks. Your cat is chronically dehydrated on a dry diet, and that dehydration is showing up loud and clear in their skin and coat. So we are going to get water into them, gently. Start by mixing a little warm water or a plain, unsalted, onion-free and garlic-free bone broth into their meals to create a kind of savory gravy that they will happily lap up. If you are feeding only dry kibble right now, begin slowly transitioning toward a good quality wet or canned food, which sits at around 70 to 80% moisture, far closer to what your cat's body is actually built to run on. Within just a few days of proper hydration, you will start to see that dry, flaky skin underneath begin to settle and calm right down. Rule number 2. Fix the fats. Remember, the entire visible problem is unhealthy, sticky oil, so we are going to give the skin the correct raw materials to build healthy, light oil instead. The magic ingredient here is omega-3 fatty acids. My favorite way to deliver them is a tiny amount of pure fish oil, either salmon oil or sardine oil, or a small piece of a plain sardine packed in water with absolutely no added salt, mashed thoroughly into their food a couple of times a week. Omega-3s are nature's own anti-inflammatory, and they completely transform the quality of the oil the skin produces, turning heavy, dull grease into a light, healthy, glossy shine. Just start with a single tiny drop and build up very slowly over a couple of weeks, because too much fat too fast will absolutely upset your cat's stomach. Rule number 3. Rebuild from the gut. So much of skin and coat health actually begins down in the digestive system, because a huge portion of your cat's entire immune system lives right there in the gut. A small amount of a plain, cat-specific probiotic supplement helps rebalance all of that and calms the low-grade inflammation that keeps showing up on the skin as grease and flaking. And underneath all of it, make absolutely sure the foundation of the diet is a real, named animal protein listed as the very first ingredient. Chicken, turkey, salmon. Not corn, not wheat, not a vague mystery byproduct filler. Now please, I am asking you, do not go and do all of these things at once tonight. I promise you, if you dump water, bone broth, fish oil, and a probiotic into your cat's bowl all in the very same evening, you will be cleaning up an upset stomach tomorrow morning. And a cat with an upset stomach grooms even less than before, which is the exact opposite of what we are trying to achieve. So here is your simple, gentle plan. This week, pick just one single thing. Start by adding a little moisture to the food, nothing more. Once their stomach is completely happy and settled with that, a few days later, add the fish oil. Then a little later again, once that has settled, add the probiotic. Slow and steady rebuilds the coat beautifully without ever upsetting the system. Rotate these small, kind changes in one at a time, stay consistent with them, and within days, you will feel that grease begin to lift, and that soft, clean, silky cat you remember will start coming right back to you. And I want to be completely honest with you, the way I always try to be, because you and your cat deserve nothing less than the truth. Sometimes a coat that suddenly turns greasy and matted is a warning sign of something more serious happening deep inside, such as an overactive thyroid, or diabetes, or hidden dental pain that stops a cat from grooming their face and chest properly. So if you have genuinely improved the diet, added the moisture, handled the mats, and your cat's coat still looks greasy and unwell, or if you notice they are losing weight, drinking far more water than usual, or hiding themselves away from you, then please do not just keep treating the fur on the surface. Take them in for a proper checkup. The coat is only ever the messenger, and sometimes the message it is carrying is one that only a vet can fully read. We have covered an enormous amount today, and I truly hope you are sitting there looking at your cat right now with completely new eyes. That greasy, matted coat was never, ever about your cat being dirty or lazy. It was your cat, in the only way they knew how, quietly asking you for help. And simply by being here, by choosing to understand the real cause instead of just shaving the problem away and hoping, you have already proven what an absolutely incredible cat parent you truly are. So, if this video gave you that aha moment today, if you are excited to get that soft, clean, happy cat back again, do me that one last favor and just make sure you have hit that subscribe button and turned on the notification bell so that you never miss one of these feline health deep dives. Your support really is the only reason this little channel can keep going and keep helping cats, and the people who love them, all around the world. Give your beautiful cat a soft, slow, gentle stroke from all of us here, and I will see you in the very next one.